Good morning. I am Charles Elliott. I'm the Vice President of Information Technology and CIO here at LeMoyne-Owen College. It's homecoming week and we're having a great time, but I wanted to make sure we reintroduce Tech Talk Thursdays to you. We've done an incredible job early last semester in introducing various concepts of cybersecurity and information technology so that you can learn what's out there. And so we're starting again with Mr. Richard Berroa on today, who is a CISO, and I'm gonna let him explain that to you what it is, which is a Chief Information Security Officer, and he does that for us as well here at the LeMoyne-Owen College. But before we do that, I just want to let you know that we here are doing technical innovations, we're moving to automation, we're moving so that we have AI. If you go to our website, you see chatbot. You'll see a chatbot there that can help you. We're going to increase that so that it's more adaptable to who you are here at LeMoyne. We also look at some of the machine learning concepts. And our Cybersecurity Center, as you know, is one of 9 HBCUs in the country that have one, and one of 6 in the state of Tennessee that are certified by the National Security Agency and the Department of Homeland Security. So this is an incredible opportunity for us to hear Mr. Berroa, but it's also an incredible time for us here at the LeMoyne-Owen College to move forward. Now, as we continue to do this monthly, Mr. Berroa is coming today. Next month, on the 17th of November, we'll have Mr. Anthony Peer of FedEx, a director of IoT, which is Internet of Things. So I just can't wait for the next this today and the next month for you to hear what is going on in technology and around security. And today's presentation by Mr. Berroa is going to be about careers and about what can happen in network security for you. So I want to just show one thing, Mr. Gavin. I was on a CISO webinar today, Mr. Berroa, and one of the things that it was showing was the role of a CISO, particularly when it comes to insurance-based insurance companies or insurance entities. And the USI is one that actually does work for us here at the college. So I don't know if you can see it, if I can see it and on if you're zooming, or if you're excuse me, on our YouTube or on our Facebook Live channel. So the role of a CISO today, tomorrow in insurance. Well, as I was on this webinar, it became very clear to me that there are many things that we here at the college, and many colleges, and just many people in general, don't understand what a CISO does. Because what you don't know is we fight bad actors every day. One day we looked at, there were about 1 million Russian and Chinese bots that we fought off. And they'll say, well, the LeMoyne-Owen College? Yeah, the LeMoyne-Owen College is fighting off bots. We have bad actors that we fight off constantly. There are things that happen here in our network that you'll never hear of because we're fighting constantly. And what happens is, that's why I send out messages on a constant basis about phishing, right? About spoofing, about not clicking on anything that you don't know who they are. And about, even though it looks like it's from the president, or it looks like it's from me, or it looks like it's from Stacy Smith, the librarian, check the email, right? Because if it says external with the pink bar across it, and it still says president, likely it's somebody trying to spoof. Because all they have to do is change the name and make it look like it. But if you hover over the email, it tells you where it's coming from. So we have to just be diligent. And one of the things that's on this webinar that it says that the major issue in cybersecurity, and particularly in network being compromised, is human error. By someone clicking on an email from someone saying they got a new job for you, or someone saying they got a new package for you, or they got some money for you. So one of the things I just want to point this out, the role of a CISO today is detection and response. Mr. Berroa helps us respond to many things that you won't ever see. And then there are times when I put things out that say, hey, we got to stop what we're doing. Be careful because this was out there. And you've seen that happen where someone's get compromised and they get their email and just begin to shoot emails out to everybody. But that's today. Tomorrow, it has to be strategic. We have to be strategic. One of the things we're doing is we move to 2-factor authentication and single sign-on. That's what Mr. Elliott, that's a lot of stuff we have to go through. We're right. The reason being, because those bad actors are constantly waiting for us to slip. So single sign-on, those things are very important. And we go by the NIST principles of something that we have to continue to do to keep our cybersecurity certification. Dr. Farabee, who's one of the professors in the cybersecurity and IT area, talks about this to her classes, and I'm hoping you're in her classes are listening. And then here's the role, particularly for someone in insurance. This will change based on who or what area of business you're in. But here's the issue that we have to make sure we do. If something happens, we'll let you know immediately. But we also have to keep the security piece involved in everything we do. Something as simple as you clicking on a link can cause the network to go down. Something as simple as getting an email from a friend and they don't realize they've got compromised, but in our system, it says, hey, this shouldn't come through. And they said, well, I sent you an email. Well, it never came through. We said, why didn't it come through? Because we saw what they didn't see, which is a bad actor hiding. And that's why they call them Trojan, the Trojan War. They sit and they wait. And so we are careful to be sure that with everything we do and everything that we are, that we have, any new software, anything we introduce to you has a security measure already taking place. So I'm not going to hold any much longer. I wanted to introduce the Cybersecurity Center. It's, again, one of 9 of HBCU in the country, one of 6 in the state, of all the institutions in the state. We have that. That is something that we must continue to be proud of. We're going to continue to raise cybersecurity. We're also part of PIT-UN, Public Interest Technology. Can't wait for that to take off. What does that mean? Public interest technology is about being responsible in the technology you create. I'll give you a prime example. Facial recognition. So if I create facial recognition software, guess who I'm creating based on? Me. So my features, who I am, what I am, if I'm not taking responsibility to other people who are in the audience, female, white, Hispanic, and they look different than me, when the facial recognition software comes out and it's specific to one group, guess what everybody else is if I'm looking at it from a criminal perspective? Only Charles Elliott's type, black, male, certain features is a good. Everybody else is a criminal. So guess what happens with facial recognition software? Guess who the main people who create that now? They're white and they're male. Sometimes they're female. That's why we need more of you from the LeMoyne-Owen College and colleges, HBCUs, to be a part of creating this kind of technology. That's just an example of public interest technology, just one slither. There are many things we have to be able to do in technology to be responsible. So, Mr. Berroa, I've met him years ago. He's an incredible technician, an incredible engineer. He's an incredible understanding of cybersecurity. He's well respected. He's been cybersecurity consultant and CISO for many big Fortune 500 companies. And so we are elated and we are blessed to have him on our team. So without further ado, Mr. Berroa, I see you there. He say his picture looks younger. He looks younger now. I don't know about the younger piece, but I do know he has everything we need to have in order to know more about cybersecurity careers, as he's been in 25 plus years, and how to protect ourselves. Turn it over to you, Richard.
Thank you. Thanks, Charles. Good morning, everyone. I wanted to compliment a little bit of what Charles is saying. And we have. I'm going to try to go through the presentation, but if you have questions, please feel free to ask me. We've got quite a bit of an agenda today, and I wanted the agenda to be more the answering the questions that you guys have, right? So on the agenda, we're gonna talk about my cybersecurity career. We're gonna talk about what is cybersecurity, why the business is booming on the cybersecurity side. We're gonna talk about the different roles, and we're gonna talk about why would you want to be a cyber pro, and we're gonna touch on a few other things. Okay, next. So let's talk about me a little bit, right? So basically, what Charles mentioned, I have been around the world working in the cyber side. So I started my career early year 1990. Won't say the year, so you can't tell how old am I. But I can tell you that I have worked for DHS, which is the Department of Homeland Security. I have worked with the government in Kuwait. I have worked with the government in Mexico. I have worked with the Saudi government. I have worked with the Israeli government. I have worked with the Colombian government. I have worked with the Panamanian government. I have worked with the Chilean government. What qualifies me as a cybersecurity professional is the fact that I also have certification to show knowledge. So today I am a certified ethical hacker. I'm also a certified incident handler, and I'm also a certified chief information security officer. A lot of these acronyms, you can actually Google them, but what basically they state is that I have the knowledge to conduct cybersecurity training and also lead companies in the cybersecurity space. Okay. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. Okay. Next. So what is cybersecurity? In cybersecurity, there's a lot of forms of security, but cybersecurity is the art of protecting the network, devices, and data from unauthorized access or criminal use and practice of ensuring confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information. Okay. What that means is basically we, as a cybersecurity engineers, we're always vigilant to make sure that no access is given to anybody who's not supposed to be given access to. Okay, I have cited a couple of sites that will tell you a little bit about more cybersecurity, what that is, what is a security hacker, what is security. Well, essentially, they're all around the same things. We're always protecting the information from unauthorized access. Now, that access could be an internal access or an external access, and we're making sure that confidentiality, integrity, and availability, it's on the information. Okay, next. Okay. The business and the cybersecurity side is booming. Today, there are about 464,420 open jobs on cybersecurity. What that means that we have almost a million employed cybersecurity professionals, okay? And the industry keeps growing. Cybersecurity workers protect our most important and private information from banks to sensitive military communication. So there's many forms of cybersecurity, and today what the industry is saying is that there is a demand for cybersecurity professionals. Next.
Richard,
Richard.
yes. Before you go to the next one, can we go back one slide?
Yep.
I want to just point this out. You said it's 464,000 plus job openings. How many people do you expect we have in place now in the country to be able to fulfill those 464,000 who are qualified to get those jobs? So about how many people do you think out of that 464,000 openings, how many people do you think we have qualified? 10%, 15%?
There's probably one of my slides is I show you how to qualify that knowledge, right. But today there's not enough people going into cybersecurity.
Gotcha.
The government is working with entities like LeMoyne-Owen College to ensure that we have cybersecurity professionals to defend the country, to defend our entities in the industry. But today, Charles, I don't believe there's enough individuals to fulfill even a 10% of that number.
Oh, wow. Okay, thanks.
Next. So let me talk a little bit about different roles in the cybersecurity side or cybersecurity profession. There are many different roles in cybersecurity, starting with cybersecurity engineers, starting with the cybersecurity risk analyst, doing the privacy analyst or engineer, cybersecurity compliance. If you look at that list, the list is endless. And their role is basically having the ability to protect all of the data that a company or a government entity has. So there are many different roles and there are many to choose from. Each one of these roles has a different task or a specific task. For example, when you're an engineer, you're basically building solutions. When you are a cybersecurity risk analyst, you're analyzing the risk that companies may have. When you are a privacy analyst, you're trying to understand privacy statements and privacy in terms of how companies treat the employee information or government information. When you're an incident responder, you're trying to perfect how companies or government entities respond to incidents. So there are many different professions, there are many different roles in the cybersecurity jobs. Next. So you want to be a cyber pro, right? So let's talk about a little bit about what qualifies you in terms of priority. What qualifies you someone to become a cybersecurity pro? Okay, first of all, the ability to lead complex initiative and diverse groups of people. Okay, LeMoyne-Owen College will offer you the ability for you guys to become leaders in the cyber industry, and you will be leading not just people in your own call it state, but also in other states, because you'll be working across the nation and sometimes across different countries. Okay, so the ability to lead complex initiatives is one of them, and is very important. Okay, second, the ability to solve complex under pressure. Okay, think about this. You're protecting the company's cybersecurity or information technology. You're always going to be working under pressure. You're always going to be what I want to call, you're going to be on call. There are times where something happened in the weekend and Charles gets a call and we just got to get on and start working and get this thing resolved. So you're always going to be under that pressure. Okay, there's always going to be a decisiveness moment in that in any incident or anything in what you guys will be doing. Also, there's going to be the ability for you guys to communicate what the issues are, what you're dealing with. So the ability for you guys to communicate clearly is a must. You know, you will have to have that ability, and LeMoyne-Owen College will offer you guys that ability. Okay. Also, you will have to have proactiveness and willingness to learn. There's nobody in the industry that knows it all. Okay, this is an industry that you are going to constantly be learning. Okay, the ability for you to have that willingness to learn is really important. Then you also need to have the ability to work through adversity. Okay, when we're protecting the company's information, we're always poking, we're always trying things that, you know, how bad actors are going to try to hack the company. How are they going to try to look people up, you know, doing social engineering. So there's always this, you know, working through adversity where you're going to have to be proactive. You're going to have to work extra. You're going to always have to learn more things. You know, the learning curve will never stop. Their foundational technical skill set. In LeMoyne-Owen College, their program will help you guys build the foundational technical skill set. Working with Dr. Furby and working with the staff, you will gain all that knowledge. And lastly, you will have the cybersecurity technical skill set. And this is a cybersecurity technical skill that you can obtain at LeMoyne-Owen College. And when you go on to the industry, you can apply those skill sets you learn. Next. As you guys start learning what cybersecurity is and how to apply that knowledge, there are several resources that are available to you that are free. Okay, for example, the Center for Information Security is an independent nonprofit organization with the mission to help you get familiarized with everything that's out there. They have something called the CIS Top 20. They have documentation, and they have templates on how to help you make computers a little more hard for people to not be able to hack into them. So it's hardening templates on these computers when they're, whether there are Windows servers or whatnot. Also, the National Institute of Standard and Technology, they provide you frameworks to be able to give you guidance on how to secure your networks and how to secure your companies. Okay, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, this is the nation's strategic and unified entities to help you become more resilient. And also there's a standard that has come out, it's called the OWASP. OWASP is basically the Open Web Application Security Project, and this is the standard is used. This is a nonprofit and used So there are many resources available to you guys out on the web that are free for you guys to use. Next. Okay, so now I have learned all of this information. I have gone through the program. How can I prove that? Okay, it's a very simple process. Today, there are many projects, there are labs, there are personal and it work. Okay, and the way you prove this is basically by obtaining certification. There are many institutions that offer you the ability for you to certify. Just as I mentioned before, I am certified in several different cybersecurity trades, but some of these institutions are like SANS, ISC Square, CSA, CEH, ISACA, and CompTIA. Okay? This institution will allow you to help you certify through some cybersecurity training and taking an exam for you to become certified. The demand is extremely high. Today, there's a big demand on cybersecurity engineers. There's a big demand on penetration testing. There's a big demand on red teaming. There's a big demand on incident handler. And all of these companies will help you or give you the ability for you guys to certify and show the fact that you have the knowledge and you can prove that. Okay. Next. So in this slide, all I wanted to do is kind of show you a little bit of the demand, right? Today, as I mentioned previously, there's a really high demand for cybersecurity engineer for different roles within cybersecurity. And this slide here and the other one shows there's more than almost half a billion jobs up and within the cybersecurity industry. And they are broken down by region. So as you can see, and this is only the United States, you know, when you go abroad, there's even more. So this in the United States, there are many, many, many openings for cybersecurity engineers. There are many openings for cybersecurity analysts. There are many openings for cybersecurity consultant and cybersecurity manager. Their opportunities are there. The pay is really good. And there are many, many of these opportunities that will also, the government will help you through institutions like LeMoyne-Owen College for you guys to become certified and get a 4-year degree and apply knowledge in the cybersecurity industry. Any questions, guys? Charles, back to you.
Thank you, Richard. I'm gonna come up back to the stage because I know that I got some questions that maybe they don't want to ask.
Okay.
All right. So let's leave that. Go back that map. So when we look at this map, I'm trying to come to Memphis for those who are in YouTube and Facebook land. Amen. I got in my preacher mode real quick, but I wanted to show you the areas that are darkest. So those are ones where you have. If you look here, and I'm trying to back up because I want to make sure I can see it as I get closer. If you look at sort of in the southeast, southwest region, as you get closer to Memphis, which is right in here, look at how many darker spots are available. And I can tell you from the Memphis community perspective, Tennessee and Mid-South region, we have less people percentage-wise available for those jobs than anywhere in probably in the country. Because we're a major city, but that's why we're pushed so hard. We're partnering with Tech 901 to get our young people certified. You go to Tech 901 certification free. Come on in. But with a 4-year degree and certifications, you can walk right into one of these jobs. And one of the things Tech 901 also does is allow for folks to change careers. Because then we have some students who maybe are ASAP students who may have been in another career, come through the ASAP program, and then get some of the certifications that they can get for free and go into another opportunity. And that's why we also have certificate programs, which we haven't pushed it much, because now you can take the 8 courses that are necessary and have a certified with NSA and DHA seal on your certificate and walk back into your company or to another company and say, look what I have, and look, we need to change. But those jobs are out there. So Richard, what is kind of background? And I know we say in cyber, you can come from anywhere, but from your experience, because you can major in anything, I want to say that. But what, from your experience, the people that do well, what are some of the things that they major in? What's some of the backgrounds that they have?
I want to say, Charles, that there's a big demand in penetration testing, for example. Okay, and one of the things that you mentioned, Charles, that it's important is today you can actually work remote from a lot of these companies because the ability for you to work in many different locations and having the ability to just work from Memphis or work to a company in LA are there and they exist. What we need is people with the actual background, with the knowledge, the certification, what you guys are offering today. In terms of what we need, there are many roles within the cybersecurity. The demand is there. We don't have enough cybersecurity engineers. We don't have enough cybersecurity analysts. We don't have enough cybersecurity consultants. And all of these roles have basically a big, the technical skill set to be able to show companies how to protect themselves and the data, protect their employees. When you're working as a cybersecurity professional, okay, or when you're working as a CISO is a Chief Information Security Officer. One of your functions is to write a security program, and this security program is based on a framework, and the framework is actually defined by companies like CISA, companies like the NIST, and this is just simply a map of the different security controls that companies need to ensure they have. Okay, and once you have these security controls, you measure how these security controls and how well you do. Okay, one of the things that most companies have to have by regulation is they have to have somebody trying to do a penetration test or testing the controls that the companies have implemented. And this is called a pen tester. Okay, and there's a big demand for these guys. There are not enough penetration testers on the market to be able. And if we look at how much is a penetration test cost, we're looking almost $50,000 to $100,000 for somebody to go in and just try to ensure that companies' security controls are adequate, that they won't be violated.
Okay, I'm gonna give you the mic. You got it. All right. Sorry. I'm gonna let Ms. Tittiums, who's senior accountant, ask that question herself.
How often do they do the testing? Is that done
So
like daily, monthly, or once someone writes the program?
So companies are required to do an annual security test. However, most companies do a continuous security test. What that means is it's not enough to do an annual testing. You got to continuously test for vulnerability within the organization. For example, there are softwares that provide a continuous testing from external or internal that will say, hey, for people keep poking at, give you one example, Microsoft has web services. People keep poking at Microsoft web services, and you have to continuously test the web server to ensure that there are no vulnerability. So the ability for you to test is a continuous process. Now, the ability for you to comply with regulation is only once a year. Most companies just do it once a year.
Okay, thanks.
And can you just explain, because pen testing has different levels of it. I've been through it multiple times. We're going to do one soon. We're also going to do a testing on human error or human control. But can you just explain pen testing just in general? What particular one you talk about once a year? What happens?
Within a, let's say, within a company, there are different types of teams. Okay, I don't know, most people have mainly heard of black hats, and there are actually different kinds of teams. There's blue teams and there's red teams, and that defines the level of penetration that they go about a company. For example, what a penetration test does is typically you are testing the company's security control to see if those controls are adequate or if you can violate the controls. Most of the time, the penetration tester will violate the control and show you exactly how he did it, so you can go in and patch that control and ensure that you're safe. Okay, so once a year you hire a company, external company, to the organization to come in, and this person will basically try to violate the security controls that the company has and get access to the company's information, get access to company's network, and show you that they will generate a report to show you how they did it, so that you can go back and basically patch every single one of those holes to be sure that you're protected, essentially. Did that make sense?
You got it? All right.
Yes. I have a question. Can you go back to the slide for the resources, free resources, and talk a little bit about what those agencies or organizations do, what their roles are relative to getting people involved in cybersecurity positions?
Yep.
No, not that slide. The
The
slide
one with
that
the
said
agencies.
resources free with
Right.
CIS,
Number 8.
NIST.
There you go.
Yes.
Okay.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on what their roles are? Thank you.
So in cybersecurity, there are a list of rules. The government has actually published with institutions like the CIS, which is the Center for Information Security, who's an independent nonprofit organization. What they've done is they said, okay, guys, you want to be secure, let me publish a guidance that's called the CIS Top 20. Okay, what the CIS Top 20 is a list of security controls that organizations can follow in order for them to secure their data. Now, more than just those controls, they also provide something called templates. These hardening templates are, for example, in the Microsoft Word, you have a list of Microsoft Server, you have a list of Microsoft endpoints, or like Windows laptops. They give you these templates that you can follow in order for you to protect those laptops or those devices. So the Center for Internet Security provides a set of guidance for you to be able to protect the company's information. Okay? What the NIST is actually National Institute for Standards of Technology. It's actually almost a government institution that provides the same thing that the Center for Information Security does, but they provide a more of a guidance for the government. Okay? For example, when I was working for the government in another state, we have to, by regulation, we have to follow the NIST 853. What the NIST 853 says is it provides about 1,000 controls that all government institutions have to follow in order for them to protect the citizens of that state's data. Does that make sense? Now, if we go over.
Hey, Richard, could you explain how that NIST applies to us? Because we do follow. We got some vulnerabilities because we've been unsecure for a long, long time, and so we're moving into a direction, and something as simple as using social security numbers as passwords for our students at one point. Those are just some things you have to do. So can you sort of talk how the NIST applies to us? Somewhat, and we're working to, and Richard's working with us to make sure we get to a point where we can be as secure as possible. And I said it as possible because even FedEx and the Department of Defense got hacked, right? So everybody has vulnerability more than you know. But go ahead, this is how it applies to us.
Perfect. So what the NIST does, the NIST again is a set of guidance, and it's called the NIST 853. They actually have 853A as they continuously update the set of guidance. And what the NIST does, it gives you 10 different domains or 10 different sections of the guidance. The first section is the security and risk management, and all it does, it tells you how to measure your risk. The second section, it talks about asset security. It tells you, hey, for asset security, here is the different controls that you have to follow. The third is security engineering. So basically, there is different domains. That the other one is communication and network security. The other one is identity and access management. The other one is security operation. So what the government has done is they have given you guys a list of guidance and best practices. So if everybody follows this, and it's broken down into different sections, if everybody follow them, they cannot guarantee you, but they're basically telling you, if you follow these guidance, we can almost tell you that you will be protected. But again, the NIST CFS also is a continuous monitoring for the NIST guidance. So you're really, what you're doing is essentially is you're following the government's advice, and you have to continuously monitor all the controls to make sure you're protected.
Thank you. I wanted Richard to explain, because we have to follow that for our continual to have our certification. And so it also helps with us if we can speak that we have NIST, we have NIST guidance, and NIST, we're going through NIST guidelines, and we're NIST certified, for lack of a better term. It helps us as an institution when we go after grants and everything else that are out there. So thanks, Richard. There's another question, Mr. Jar.
Oh, no, I'm just curious. Is there a disaster plan, in play? Because since we had the pandemic and we having a lot of fraud going on, with the banks and maybe, hacking institution as well. What happens like on the back end? How, if say if funds was taken from the institution, do they recoup that or what?
I'll finish it with the last part of the question I can answer.
Okay.
The first part, I'm gonna let Richard dive.
Okay. Can you repeat that question, Charles?
About the fact, since we've had a pandemic, what with all the hacking and fraud. So you want to ask your question again?
I was just asking, is there like a disaster plan in place for cybersecurity when companies are getting, hacked?
Right.
If
Yes.
if they have, taken some funds from them or something to that nature, if it was social security numbers from whomever.
Yeah. Yep. That's a very good question. That's an excellent question. Okay. So going that, what the NIST being the government's guidance on how companies are supposed to protect their information, has some functions. The functions of the NIST, or the NIST guidance, and even the CIS Top 20, says that companies need to identify their assets. Companies need to protect their access. Companies need to detect their access. Company needs to respond and recover. These 5 different functions, basically, if we follow the 5 different functions, one of the functions is how to recover. And within the recovery section, there is usually disaster recovery mode and how we would recover in the event that we have a disaster. For example, within LeMoyne-Owen College, we have a copy of the data that is encrypted in an off-site location or in the cloud, that in the event we have an issue, we are able to recover. Most hackers, when they hack into institution, their majority of the time they're looking for money. They're asking the people, hey, they go ahead and put an encryption on the company's information, and then they go and tell the company, hey, if you want me to give you the key to decrypt the information, you gotta pay me. Now, the government's guidance in that is basically do not pay criminals. Okay? Now, what the government says, or what the NIST says is, we need to keep a copy of our data at a cloud site so that we can always recover for any cybersecurity event. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Actually also have cyber security and cyber insurance through USI, that first one. So we have, and what was what's amazing about it is, say cyber security insurance was $7, right? Now it's $15. Some as much as $21. I'm just giving you thousands in the thousands, because at this point, cybersecurity insurance is one of the biggest things you got to have. As much as you have P&C, property and casualty, but you have health insurance with an institution, you got to have cybersecurity insurance. I'll give you a prime example. There was a HBCU, about 157-year-old school in Illinois, got hit with ransomware and they got shut down. One, they were already strapped for money. The ransomware came in and they shut down their college. I'm not going to turn this back over to you unless you give me $2 to $4 million. It went from $2 to $4 million. That's all they needed. They didn't have any cyber insurance. They were already strapped for money. Their endowment was low. You can imagine, we're a small HBCU as well. And if someone came to access for $30, $40, $50 million, or we shut your school down, and we don't have a way to fight with what we're doing now to get it back, that's going to be tough. So now, can't take classes, can't pay bills, can't do anything. So basically, they made a decision to shut down after 157 years. So that's important for us. So now, that's why cybersecurity insurance is important, because we insure ourselves at a level where we then can come back. At least if you have to start up, we have funds to get back. We're going to get back and get people like Richard in to help us fight through that process. But if you don't have any money to pay, and then you don't have any money to help somebody get you out of it, because you have people like Richard and others who can come and fight those hackers as well and get back in to make some things happen. But if you can't even have any money, they shut down. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to access police. Okay, another question, Richard.
Thank you. So, from an entrepreneur's perspective, is there a shortage of companies serving cybersecurity needs in the same way that there isn't a big enough workforce to fill the gap?
At first.
Yes. There is a ton of opportunities within the cybersecurity. Most people, including myself, what I've done is, so I have the experience by going and getting the certification. Once you're certified, then it's an easy way to just become a consultant, make a company, and you can even hire other consultants to come in under you and start protecting other information. Now, you can do that by getting people to come under your company, and you're providing services to other companies. You can do that by providing penetration testing, right? So let's say that you go to cybersecurity school at LeMoyne-Owen, you finish, you go get certified, you become a penetration tester certified, you become an ethical hacker. Now you can go out there and do these services at a fee for other companies, and they actually pay, and they pay very well.
Say this to you as well, because I've been an entrepreneur in the IT space. One of the key things, particularly in a city like Memphis, just use Memphis or the area, because you have a lot of people, they need jobs, like a FedEx or others need opportunities for people to get jobs in that space. They also, a lot of other companies who are medium sized, who say a big dental office or a law office, they don't think about that till they get hacked. So all of a sudden now, they're a $15 million firm. They get reduced. They have no insurance. They need someone to tell them what's going on. The potentially that they have a person taking care of the computers, but they're not a cybersecurity person like a Richard, or have done that kind of thing as well. So guess what? They get hacked, or that person's doing the best they can. So give you a prime example with us. Richard serves as our CISO as a consultant because we need to have security overlooked all the time. And people say, well, why do you do that? That's because a CISO, to the point we just made, makes a lot of money. And I told you we don't have much. So we have to work with Richard in a way, and they do a great job for us as a network and security. And we have an incredible relationship in that people don't realize what we pay, they probably could get twice as much or more, 3 times as much. That's based on relationship, based on the fact we've been working and then working with them, having somebody here. So that's why I said we were blessed to have someone like that that knows this information. So if we ever get hit, like you prime example, when I talk about those million bots and Russian bots, Richard was able to see that. I told him, Richard, we're in a fight every day, right?
Every day.
Every day. And I remember Tony, when he spoke for us, Tony Sharp spoke for us at the Cybersecurity Forum. He said, let not be, if you haven't been touched, either you won't be touched real soon, or you've already been touched before. He said, I don't care what company, what government you are, everybody's vulnerable because you got so many people out there. So answer your question is yes, yes, and yes. Get certified. We have to go through our cyber program, get certified. If you're into IT, get certified, and make sure once you get certified, that is a critical thing. You can just almost name your price. But then if you're after a certain market, you can really make some money because maybe they can't afford a Richard. They can afford you because now they need it though. I'm talking about the small, medium-sized companies. So go ahead.
The opportunities are there.
Very much so.
Okay, this is not so much about companies. How can I protect myself?
Good question.
Because I've been the victim of credit card fraud like twice, and
Right.
I've had my credit card in my possession.
Right.
And I hear these stories that they may have some little
gadget
or something that may capture your
Right.
number and everything.
That's
So
why I have certain wallets. I mean, I can speak to someone because that's called that's the Internet of Things. We're gonna have to have that. That's actually next month. The Internet of Things. No. But Rich can answer that question. Believe me. And
Yes.
and speaking to that, there are certain things that people put their credit cards in because people do have devices. But Richard, go ahead and address that because it's
Yes. So the number one thing is if you don't recognize the sender, do not click on the link.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
Do not click on anything. Anybody sending you information, do not open information. I'll give you an example. I spent many, many years working with other governments, taking criminals by just sending them email as if they were coming from their wife, from somebody close to them, and we go and inject a ransomware inside a PDF, a Word document. So first thing is, if you do not know who's sending you the email, delete it. Do not even look at it. Don't open it. They can tell when you open it. Just delete it. Okay? There are software in the cell phone that allows you to, like, give you an example. When we at LeMoyne-Owen College, when you click on a link with a LeMoyne-Owen College email, we actually go into a process that filters and kind of tells us, hey, is this a link that is safe or is this a link that is malicious? If it's malicious, we block it. If it's safe, we'll let you go to it. So the best thing to do is always be aware of who's sending you the information, and not only over email, but also over text, because now people use services like Dili or that will basically hide where they come from just so that you can see the senders. So you get a text from somebody you don't recognize, don't click. You get a lot of times I get texts, think about this. I have worked with so many different governments that a lot of time people send me texts just trying to tell me, oh, we couldn't deliver your package. Please click here to reschedule delivery. I'm not expecting any packages. Why do I want to reschedule a delivery? So I just delete. Whether it's a text or an email, do not click on anything you do not recognize.
also should on some of your phones get software. I use Nord and I use some other mobile apps. So for instance, I got a legitimate text, but because it came from a person who usually was a seller, I'm not gonna tell you who it is. I was buying something. It was legitimate, and so saw it on Facebook. So my software said, "Hey, this is a potential malicious text. Don't open it." And it said, "So just be careful." They let it through after I said okay because I recognized the brand of the company, and so I was able to use it because I got my 10% off code, right? So the thing became, though, the point with that is that the software said this could potentially be malicious. It's from a seller of of goods, so be careful. So Richard's point is, it basically said don't open this unless you know who it is. The purpose of us doing DCAM and DMARC, and Richard can get deep into those. You notice that pink bar you have? The purpose of that is, and then I've had people say to me, the president sent me this. I said, no, she didn't. No, she didn't. Look at the email. I said, look at the email closer. It says president at loc.edu. I said, no, it doesn't. Hover over that email. Go back and look at the email where it says from. It's from some IU wrote from some Russian bot, and it's very clear. But because we don't take the time. So as much as Richard is who he is, there's one thing he cannot protect us from. Guess what that is? Human beings being error. So he cannot, that's the number one thing that no security person can protect you from. And that's why, as much as possible, Richard has helped with emails that we've sent that we crafted with information, because he's done some other work. So so he has a plethora of information that we've been able to use and email, something as simple as an email we're sending out. One of the things we're going to be doing, you 3 in here or 4 in here, the 100 may be online. We're going to be testing you. Richard's going to come up with an email, like we did before, and it's going to be a phishing email. We're going to see how many people click on the link. I guarantee you most do. And they're going to come running and say, oh my God, Charles, I did it. I know you did. Why did you do that? Because we're going to send out the rules now. We're going to send the rules out again. I've sent them out before. Do not click on anything that you don't know where it's coming from.
So this would be a test for us.
It'd be a human error test.
Okay.
All right.
Because I've heard that in some other company, I think not sure how often they do it, but they do it, probably like maybe, can't remember if it was like every month or every 3 months, where they just test them. They send them an email just to see if they're going to click on it and open it up. And they're just to protect, their data.
Right. But FedEx got hacked. And as much as FedEx has major security, and in fact, Anthony's going to be here next month, they didn't get hacked from the outside. They got hacked because somebody inside opened the door. The issue we have, and Richard can speak to this, and then we got 2 or 3 minutes, is that we close as many doors. Richard has helped us close and lock doors. But here's the reality. You can open them back up by clicking on the wrong link, by just opening the doors to stuff you go through. Something as simple as going to Target. Target got hacked. It took about so many million IDs. Guess how much that cost Target, or just a company like Target? It's upwards of sometimes $4.2 billion. Because now they have class action lawsuits out there because you were supposed to protect my information. And as you notice, people tell you you've been hacked. You may be in jeopardy, so go and change passwords. That's a hassle. Go change IDs. That's a hassle. So all these different things happen. So Richard, and I don't want to get too deep in what you did for the government, but you notice what he said. He said we created something inside a PDF, made it look like it's coming from the criminal's wife. He opened up the document and they caught him. So there are other ways to use cybersecurity on the other side coming to you. And that's the kind of thing, as a young man asked a question about entrepreneurship, you can be that kind of person or work for someone to do that, because there are many applications to cybersecurity. And and Richard just gave you one of them. So any other questions?
No, I don't want to hold y'all.
Well, thank you, Mr. Jara. Any closing remarks, Richard?
Just, we need to help. Look at institutions like LeMoyne-Owen College. They're tied to the government, and their intention is to really help you become that technical skills, or gain that technical skills, and be a cyber pro. Anything you guys need from me, I'm always here to help.
Thank you, Richard. Let's give Richard a hand. I appreciate him. He would have been here, but he had something else he had to do, so he agreed to do it online. It worked out perfectly, actually. So we were able to do some interactive stuff. I don't know if we had anything on like YouTube or Facebook, Gavin, but if we do, we'll get back to you and try to do our best. So thank you for coming. Next month, it won't be the 4th Thursday, it'll be the 3rd Thursday. It'll be November 17th. We'll be doing this with the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated here with Chi Psi chapter. It'll be November 17th, our Founders Day. So I just want to put that plug in. And so, and Mr. Anthony Perry, guess what? He's an Omega as well. So he's the director of AIoT. So we've had some big hitters, a CISO like Richard, who's globally trained and an incredible engineer. And we thank him for what he does for LeMoyne. And then we have a managing director from IoT. We're going to make sure we do a better job putting this out there much faster. In fact, I'm gonna try to get it out as early as next week. Start reminding everyone, here's what we need to do. And again, it's gonna be doing the Achievement Week for Omega. So hopefully we have a lot of people in here. Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, our IT team, and all those in YouTube and Facebook land. Thank you for tuning in for the incredible session.
Thank you, everyone.